also specialise in the removal of earwax, infected debris and discharge from the ear canal. We have a client here who attended with bilateral, fully occluding earwax, and this ear at the moment is his left ear. You can see that the wax is quite wet and loose. The patient had been using some olive oil drops prior to attending. The ear canal itself is quite narrow. I like to call it quite slit. So the natural shape of the ear canal should be almost like an oval. But in this client here, it's a bit more of an elongated oval. So it's a bit more slit, a bit more narrow. And that could be one of the reasons why this gentleman actually suffers some wax impaction. As the wax naturally is migrating out of the ear, it's getting trapped near this entrance where it can narrow slightly, then causing wax to build up behind it. So we're using endoscopic microsuction. So the endoscope is the tool that I'm using to visualize the ear canal. And you may be already aware that I and my team at ClearWax developed the iClearScope, which is a wireless auto endoscope whereby we attach the eyepiece of the endoscope to an iPod using an adapter developed by a company called Endoscope Eye, who also have an app called the EI Pro app, and we've developed our own endoscope specifically for the use of earwax removal. So the endoscope is the device that's providing us with the view, and I'm holding that with my left hand, and with my right hand I'm going in with the standard size Zollner suction probe. And you can see there we were slowly releasing the soft layers of wax, and that was just a bit of wax quite medial against the eardrum. So that was a pretty straightforward procedure in the gentleman's left ear, and I'm just mopping up near the entrance, a bit of wax there. That's just surface wax, so a bit of earwax is actually healthy. Wax is slightly acidic, so the acidity has some antibacterial properties. Also, in terms of the evolutionary reason why we develop wax, one of the theories is that the acidity tries to help repel insects, spiders, bugs, flies from entering the ear. So if you imagine our ancestors who are cavemen, for example, who used to kind of sleep on the floor, it has a kind of a protection property. The acidity repels these bugs and insects from entering the ear. So a bit of wax is always a bit healthy and natural. Wax is also a bit greasy, so that grease lubricates and coats the skin that lines the ear canal, preventing it from drying and cracking. And the wax, you can see it quite classically on this ear as well, is quite a sticky substance. So any foreign particles, so pollen for example, or dust, sticks to the wax. And as the skin that coats the ear canal sheds and migrates out of the ear, it takes with it the wax, and the wax therefore expels these foreign particles, foreign bodies from the ear. So it has a self-cleaning function. But obviously when your ear is completely blocked of wax, it's not ideal, and it can cause a whole host of otological symptoms such as otalgia. So otalgia is earache. It can cause oral fullness or occlusion, or what we call otophony. That's whereby you can hear your own voice, your breathing, any respiratory sounds, yourself chewing, for example, inside your head. So in the same way, when you've got a blocked ear, sounds can't enter the ear, internal sounds can't escape out of the ear, and then they get amplified inside the head. Wax can also cause tinnitus. So tinnitus is a sensation typically described as a ringing or hissing noise, which is lateralized within inside the ear, so it's not as a result of an external stimulus. And it can also cause vertigo. So vertigo is a sensation of the room spinning around, or you spinning around the room, and it can also be accompanied by nausea, so a feeling of feeling sick. So wax can, as I said, cause a whole host of symptoms. So we'll just go back to the actual procedure here. So the wax here is a bit more of a dense consistency. The patient wasn't using drops in this ear, and the reason for that is the client originally was going to visit their GP or nurse and have this ear irrigated with water, and prior to performing irrigation, or previously it used to be called syringing, you would have to instill some softening drops such as olive oil drops or hydrogen peroxide drops or sodium bicarbonate drops. But One of the negatives of instilling these types of drops, softened wax, is that whilst using it, the wax actually absorbs the drops and expands and swells and creates more of a blockage. Therefore, this patient decided that he did have some hearing in his right ear, so he would just use the drops in the left ear, which he did purport when he arrived that it did completely block his ear and it exacerbated his symptoms. So he was just playing it safe and just oiling one ear. With our technique, it's not always a necessity to use softening drops, even if the wax is rock hard. We're, I would say, 999 times out of 1,000 able to remove it on the day. And if need be, I can actually install the drops myself. So I was initially using a standard Zollner suction probe. I then went in with a Jobson horn, and there was a gap at the top. You may have seen that, so at the roof of the ear canal, the superior aspect. And then I went back in with the Zollner suction probe. You can see I've removed that occlusion. There is a bit of keratin and also soft wax coating the ear canal. That's a bit of keratin there. So just delicately as possible, just hovering over the canal wall. Again, if you've been watching my videos, you'll be fully aware that we've got to be very careful with the inner 2/3 of the ear canal. The outer third of the ear canal, so what we call the lateral aspect, that's made up of cartilage, and you've got a layer of fatty tissue that kind of cushions against the bone of the ear canal. The inner 2/3, there isn't any cartilage or fatty tissue, so it's literally a very thin sheet of skin that's coating the canal wall, the bony part. And if you do make contact with the bony part of the ear canal wall, it can be very sensitive and uncomfortable and painful for the client. So again, so this surface wax isn't really going to cause the client any symptoms, but he was tolerating the procedure very well indeed, and I felt comfortable and safe enough to be able to hover over gently and gently just lift it and peel it off. A bit of cilia there so at the entrance. So cilia is what we call, you can get it all parts of the body really, but in terms of the ear, the cilia typically grows the outer part of the ear canal, the outer 2/3. And it's often an indication, because obviously by looking at the ear canal, you can't really differentiate where the cartilage portion and the bony portion of the canal actually meet the juncture. But by using the hairs, it's often a good landmark. So if you don't see hairs growing from the ear canal, you can be quite sure that that's the bony part. So it does provide almost like a landmark feature there, an indicator for us. So the final piece of dead skin that I managed to remove. There's the client's eardrum, fully visible, intact, with a good light reflex. So the light reflex is the white, shiny patch on the eardrum, and that's a reflection from the light that we're amplifying inside the ears, which helps us to visualize what we're doing. So I hope you enjoyed that video. If this is one of the first times you've been watching my videos on YouTube, please do subscribe and select the bell icon so you'll get notified as and when I upload new videos. Feel free to comment, like and share. And similarly, if you're watching this on Facebook for the first time, do follow my page, like and leave any comments and share the video. I'm hoping to come into the clinic tomorrow. So tomorrow's a Saturday, so I'm actually it's Friday evening here in the UK. I thought I'll process a video before I head off home, but I've got quite a few videos to catch up on, so I'm planning to come in tomorrow for half a day and to get some